I define Liga MX as the shoot your shot league.
You do expect higher performances and better things from Club Americas, but it's the inconsistencies.
Isn't this inconsistent though?
I will maintain that the U.S. men's national team came out to the knockout round despite terrible coaching.
Like, they have a student discount maybe to go to Pumas games? Like, they got it, right?
No.
To take that next step, I think it's still undisputed that you have to go to Europe.
He's going to be on the ground for the majority of the time. No,
I
look back at highlights.
That's the Christian Pulisic treatment, though.
Same.
We're going to have to stop this. We're going to start arguing on this podcast, aren't we?
Welcome back to the Real Futbol Show. I'm Geno Gonnello. As you can see, a little bit of a different view for you today. We don't just have two people. We have three people on the podcast today. Of course, Edwin, Garcia joining us. Obviously, typically our co-host. And then on the other side, we have Alex Windley. She's a writer for the site. She's been with us. Yes, for 90 Min. For 90 Min. How long, Alex? How long have you been with us for now?
A couple months, actually.
Yeah. A couple months. She's been with us for a couple months. She's making her podcast debut for the Real Futbol Show. So please, give her a nice round of applause. Edwin, you could probably do a little bit of a better introduction than I could, but Alex is very well known in the game, especially for Inter Miami. She covers the team and does a fantastic job for us as well as personally as well. So we're happy to have her join us, and especially with the big news involving Inter Miami. But before we get to that, how are you guys doing today?
Good. Rainy morning in Miami. So, hanging in there and, drinking my tea and just staying warm, really.
Yeah, I'm the same. It's a rainy morning. I got some cafecito on deck coming up soon here after the show, so that'll warm up the soul a little bit. But yeah, Alex, thanks again for hanging out with us, joining us today. Really cool. I've known Alex for a while now. I'm happy that we finally got her on here. She does a great job. Not only here, her words have been read all over the place, as well as Bleacher Report in her own outlet called the Heron Outlet too, which is really good source for Inter Miami news. They do a great job. Her, Ian, and Austin. But hey, let's have a good show. It finally happened. Neville is our content.
We've been talking about it for a while, right? We've been talking about it for forever. We've been talking about it for a while, but after the 1-0 loss to Red Bulls midweek, Phil Neville has finally gotten the boot at Inter Miami. He was, I guess it was fired, sacked, whatever you want to call it. He was let go yesterday after what has been really a difficult season in its entirety for Inter Miami. They lost against the Red Bulls, a game that, even he told you, he said felt was one that they had, an advantage in and probably should have had a big lead early on. Red Bulls get a red card. They still can't put the ball in the back of the net. They missed the penalty. So it's been a really rough season for Inter Miami. And Alex, I guess we'll start with you, as you are the the source on all of this and probably know the most about the situation. How what led to this, I guess, would be the question. How did we get here?
Well, for one, I think 2021, you have to look back at that season where 2020, Miami coming off, their inaugural season. There was a lot of hype surrounding them. They're talking about, they're linked to Cavani and Messi still and all these free agent, Luis Suarez and all that stuff. And, Miami had big expectations, but, their launch, kind of fell flat. And, they hired Diego Alonso, their first coach, super late. And so they weren't able to get a real roster around him. So they sacked him after one season and came Phil Neville. And at the time, I think people just wanted stability around the club. And, Phil Neville was, that choice. He was friends with David Beckham and probably knew what Beckham wanted in the club. So I'm sure Beckham communicated those ideas to Neville and that's what they wanted. So 2021, 2022, in comes 2023, it started to feel like Neville was overstaying his welcome. The team, 2022, the team just barely made the playoffs due to, Higuain getting fit again. And, and having some motivation and Pozuelo coming in. But before that, the team was still not performing to what the organization wanted. And even before we started this podcast, I caught a couple of quotes of a sporting director, Chris Henderson, just flat out saying the results weren't good enough. And, looking at 2023, he's right. The results weren't good enough. And, even Neville with his handpicked guys that he kept talking about and saying, these are my guys, we're going to play real football now. The results weren't up to par. And you see it in the advanced stats and their stats in MLS. They're kind of nearly bottom at the table in terms of points and in terms of just shots on target, goals per game. They're just bad in every attacking category, and they're also letting in goals. So it just came to a fever point for Neville where the fans were fed up. They started a protest. They were not going to games. They brought out a Neville out banner. Booing his son. People are saying, well, it's because he was a defender, and I think so. They probably wanted an attacker to come on, but yeah, they were booing his son, and in that last press conference I was sitting in, it just felt like a guy who was grasping at straws and knew he was, probably getting sacked soon, and Miami dropped the hammer on him, and I can't say I was surprised. There were murmurs around the media box and all that stuff, so. Yeah, it was just a matter of time. The soccer wasn't good. The players looked like they were mentally giving up on him, and it was just not a good situation to be around. So now with Neville out, I think there's going to be a new breath of life in this club, and with Javier Morales, which we'll touch on later, he'll probably be that one guy to kind of help push the club on into this new era for them.
I got to add to that because, you're absolutely right on everything you said. To start off with, I've always said Inter Miami, unfair expectations for any coach who comes in here. And Neville, I'll give him that. Like, but it's unfair. You accepted it. But to add on to this whole bad run of form, I came across this little nugget. Inter Miami has lost 4 straight MLS matches. Its 5th losing streak of 4 or more games since the start of 2021, which is exactly when Phil Neville took over. So, dude, you throw in that, you throw in the 6-game streak that they had, at the beginning of the season, right after their 2. I just look back and I hope Phil didn't make any long-term real estate decisions after they started off 2-0 and they had I'm really hoping he wasn't like, oh, my job is safe here, I'm good to go, because man, it's been some hard times for Phil. But yeah, again, 100% what you said, and it was a dead man walking at that press conference. I was watching it. You knew it. He's trying to defend his son. But again, that. And he also said something. He's like, I know that comes with the territory of having my son as, part of the team here. But yeah, man, it just went from bad to worse for the guy. And I don't know. We'll see what Inter Miami has up their sleeves. The only good thing is here, I think, Alex, and I'll ask you this. Does this improve our chances to get Messi? When I say I mean Inter Miami. I'm speaking as a homer here. Does this improve Inter Miami's chances, you think, to maybe land the Messi here in the summer?
Yeah. So I'll straight up say, because I'm reading some quotes from Chris Henderson, Miami sporting director right now, and he straight up said that the timing of this Phil Neville sacking was to coincide with the upcoming transfer window. So yes, I think it absolutely. He flat out just said it. So I think that, I think everyone in their right mind can say they could not see Messi playing under Phil Neville, especially the way Miami were playing. So it was just sense to get rid of him, especially if they're in for Messi, if they're in for Busquets. A lot of people just could not see Messi playing under Phil Neville. It didn't sound right. It didn't look right. And now we have confirmation from Miami sporting director just saying, yes, we let go of him because, the upcoming transfer window is coming in the summer and we want to do some big things. So yes, it does increase their chances. And, let's see how, if that gets resolved within the next few weeks.
Yeah. I mean, it like you said, watching Messi under Phil Neville would have been one of the weirder things I think we've seen in MLS. And MLS is a pretty crazy league, right?
I would have made wallpaper on my screensavers and everything. I would have loved to see. I might do it afterwards if it happens. I mean, listen, this Miami team where they're at right now is a far cry from the 2-0 win over Philadelphia when we were claiming they might be the beasts of the East. We have to give credit to our friend, our colleague
here, Lizzie. She was very much not on the Phil Neville train ever for this entire season. Proven to be right. Like you said, 4-game losing streak in MLS play. They have made it to the quarterfinals of the U.S. Open Cup, but I mean, just what they were doing week in, week out, not putting the ball in the back of net, losing to teams they shouldn't be losing to, and not even scoring goals against teams they should be scoring goals against. I mean, 2 of their losses are now to the Red Bulls and Toronto, who are 2 of the other worst teams. And I believe that they've also lost to Montreal now as well. So I think the other 3 bottom teams in the East, they've lost to. I mean, that's just unacceptable. And, now it's, like you said, it's time for a step forward. Alex, what is the benefit? Obviously, I mean, what are you hearing about a possible new coach? Will it be Morales for right now? And if it is Morales, what's the benefit and what can we see with this Inter Miami team moving forward?
Yeah, I think the team is super high on Javier Morales. They specifically pointed that out in the press release. They said, they've known Javi for a long time. He was one of the first hirings that the club made, and he was spearheading that academy, and then he got moved up to assistant coach, and now he has the keys to the ride temporarily anyway to show what he's made of. And yeah, I think it's going to be Javier Morales to the end of the season. Chris Henderson, I'm reading the quotes here, he did not want to talk about specific potential coaches. But, we all hear the rumors and, who would fit best. And, Tata Martino obviously is a name that's going to be swirling around with, he coached Messi at Barcelona and at the Argentina national team. So obviously that is a natural rumor that will come up. But, Miami will do their due diligence this time. They don't want a repeat of Diego Alonso or Phil Neville. I think they'll give it to Morales for the rest of the season, do their due diligence until the next season. Or another theory of mine, maybe they'll hire someone quickly, because Henderson did say firing Neville was based off of the upcoming transfer window. So maybe they get in a coach really quickly to appease, if Messi comes, if Busquets comes. So yeah, a lot of things are just up in the air at the moment. And, I think this is the first time Inter Miami fans, I have a lot of them, DMing me and coming in my mentions, just saying, how they're just excited for, they're just excited again for the team and the the future that it can have now. So yeah, I think the coaching search will be a little bit more careful this time, but it wouldn't surprise me if they get a deal done quickly with another manager just to appease Messi if he does come, and yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they move on that front.
I think it's funny you said that it was that they gave him the keys to the car, the new ride and everything. So I feel like Inter Miami is like a really nice car, like maybe like a Lambo on the outside, but it's got like Ford guts inside, or maybe some Toyota parts.
Yeah,
I drive a Toyota and I love it, but you're thinking you're driving a Lambo here. We'll see who comes in and who takes over. Maybe a guy like we can't deny the fact that Tata's out there. He would be that Lamborghini engine into this Lamborghini car. That would be the most attractive Lamborghini for a guy to drive it like Messi. You know what I mean? So I think that would be the dream concoction, the dream setup there that Inter Miami could do. But I do want to say one last thing about Phil. He gets a lot of blame, deservedly so, tactically. Lizzie has mentioned that we've all talked about. Alex, adds on to it as well. But the players are at fault here a lot too. The players are at fault here. Leo Campapi, who's my dude, who I thought and I had high expectations for. You can't be shanking PKs, True. You can't. Joseph Martinez, maybe this is it. This is the best that we're going to get from him. He's never going to be, although he got called up for Venezuela. I don't know. There's the Gregori injury. There's the Mota, but there's other guys that have had plenty of opportunities. There's been plenty of opportunities for the players to at least show, hey, I'm doing it, but I'm being held back because of him. But if you look at the whole body of work of this team, there's no stand-up except Drake Callender. And that's just because he's literally the last guy out there. So he has nothing to do but block shots. You know what I mean? There's really no standout. There's a couple of little bright spots in some of these young guys like Kramashi and Ruiz, who had a good little, game. But is it sustainable? Who knows? But there's been nothing sustainable all season. No real bright spot. A lot of disappointment from the whole starting 11 all the way down, except for Callender. Like I said, he's the only one that I can genuinely say had a really good run. But again, it all failed. It's easier to get rid of one coach than it is, 11 guys on the pitch. So.
Well, I guess my question to you would be, don't you feel, though, I mean, if we look at the situation in Toronto, isn't it similar, though? Would you say the failure is on the players in Toronto? I mean, obviously, we've heard Bernardeschi come out and say directly that they have no way of playing. They have no idea what they're supposed to do. There's no tactics really involved.
Yeah.
And from what we understand, I mean, from what, Lizzie has talked to Phil Neville and asked him questions of these types of things. She said it on this podcast before. He's kind of similar. He's a motivator. He doesn't really have a way of playing. So I guess my question to you is how much can be on the players if you're not given a direction to of what you're supposed to do on the pitch?
I'll give Toronto the edge on two little things. One, they have one more goal scored than in Miami. So Inter Miami count on that. They've both given up the same amount of goals. So you could see that there's a lot of similarities here. And there was literally a guy who came out and said, hey, these are all the reasons why we're bad, and it's not working. And all those reasons pointed at the coach, which I think is such a big statement that you never see. And it was so bad that Toronto even pulled that video from their archives so people wouldn't see it. You could catch it on our Twitter feed and our social media. It's still up there. But I think the voice... And again, don't you have father-son in Toronto and you have father-son in Inter Miami as well?
You do.
Yeah.
Together. But yeah, I believe when I look at it, Toronto also, wow, really? You know what? Toronto is just Miami of the North. And when you think about it, you had the big signings, you had Lorenzo Insigne, you had Bernardeschi, you had these guys, you have the father-son, you have the same pretty much goals scored, goals against, and you're both basically at the bottom of the East right now. Bob Bradley, look out. You're next, man. You're next.
Yeah.
It's safety net's gone. But I'll give the edge to Toronto because at least there's been some equity in the sense that they were a prior champion. They've won. They know how to build something. This seems more like a mishap and like a downtime on a team that's had a much higher success, where Inter Miami hasn't gotten off the ground yet. We've been around for 3 years, and they just haven't been able to get anything right. Alex mentioned Diego Alonso, fantastic coach, lasted one season. We could never get any pieces around him. Then we had the COVID year. We had all these things happen. It's really just been going back to that Lamborghini. We've been stalled on first gear since the inception of this club. Toronto, at least, if you're a Toronto fan, if you're a player, you can go back and say, hey, we know we can do it. There's something there. We're doing something wrong now, but we can do it. And I think that's what Bernardeschi's saying. Like, hey, I think if we change this, we have the right pieces here to make it happen. So they're in a better spot than Inter Miami is right now.
For sure.
A parting gift for the Inter Miami fans for Phil Neville. I mentioned that they have lost to a bunch of the teams in the bottom of the table. They've actually lost to every team from 9 all the way down to the bottom of the table this season. 3 of them which happened at home. We're 16 games into the season now, 16 match days into the season at least. That's enough of a sample size to tell you that that's a problem. So a little bit of an issue there, not beating teams. I mean, you go out, you beat Atlanta 2-1, you beat New England 2-1, and then you lose to Montreal 1-0, and you lose to Chicago 3-2. These are the type of things that get you fired. And that's how we got, that's why we're here today. But speaking of, going from one disaster on the East Coast, flying across to the West Coast to another disaster, there was another firing this week. Yeah. We got a firing this week, and it looks like the fans got what they wanted there too. Chris Klein is out as the president of LA Galaxy. It was announced. I'm actually not sure. It was announced earlier this week before the Neville firing, actually. Mm-hmm. It was coming to this point. Galaxy are dead last in the table, -13 on goal differential. A similar situation where you have too much talent to be as bad as they are. It's a different situation, though, right? Because it's not a coach. It's not a sporting director. It's the president. How much, and Alex, our Edwin, will start with you. Yeah. How much can we really see change with this LA Galaxy team based on just the president being let go? Is there going to be much of an immediate change, I should say?
Look, I like to think so because, again, I'm going to use the same logic that I used with Toronto. This is a team that has a history, has a thing, and they know how to win. They've been successful not that long ago. This seems like they're on a bad bad slide right now. They were in the playoffs last season. They were a little dark horse team. We thought they could make a run. They gave LAFC a challenge, but here we are less than a year later, and it's they've gone full Miami. You never go full Miami. So with Inter Miami right now, you see the problems they've had. They have nothing. They look around. They're like, we've never done this before. We don't know what we're doing. At least with the Galaxy Toronto, they can look around and say, hold on, man, let's take a step back. Let's, we still have people that are here from when we were doing things right. And I think this is a good move. Obviously, a very good move for the Galaxy because it was dead last in MLS, not just in the West. In MLS, they were the worst team. Just last week you had Ricky Pooch scoring a second goal in the 50-something minute of a game and celebrating by doing the Messi celebration like the B team. Like, this is how bad it's gotten for the Galaxy. And I love Ricky. That was my pick this season for breakout player, for potential MVP. I thought he was perfect for MLS. I thought he had all the potential. I'm not a Chicharito fan, so his lack of production, his lack of everything, I'm just tired of it. I think he's on the way out in LA. What does he do, man? What does he do? He's a commercial asset, I guess. He brings that in and he connects to the Mexican fans. But as a player on the pitch, we haven't seen anything from him all season at all. Not even a glimpse. At least Ricky Pooch scored a goal, and then overly celebrated. But the Galaxy, it's hard times. But the most shocking thing to me is just last season, Geno, we were talking about it. Joveljic was that guy off the bench. You could count on him for a goal. They were giving LAFC a run for their money. That Clásico in the playoffs was fantastic. And here we are, just a complete disaster. And I guess all those bad decisions, all those bad player personnel movings just finally caught up with them. And you got to start at the top with this. And that's what they're doing by getting rid of Klein. So I think it'll get better, but it's bad.
Yeah, Alex, your thoughts on the situation.
Yeah, I think I've always, watched, West Coast teams because Inter Miami is mainly what I cover. So West Coast teams are, kind of like out of the way and not really in direct conflict with the East Coast teams. So I've always been interested in the Galaxy and, their history. And I remember those teams with Landon Donovan, David Beckham, you had Omar Gonzalez as a, premier defender in the league. And, they had all these guys that were just so good and cohesive on the field. So to see them, what they're doing now, it's like a legacy team not living up to the expectations, and MLS is better when the Galaxy are good. So obviously, you want them to get better. And, getting rid of Chris Klein is a big way of doing that. I remember seeing the supporters just, absolutely fed up. A lot of them just didn't go to the games. And like you guys were saying off air before we started, the stadium looks so empty without the fans. And, MLS is a very, they're a fan-driven league in a sense. And, not having fans in the stadiums, it takes out the atmosphere. So, yeah, it should be a good thing that Klein is out. The Galaxy have been underperforming, especially with the talent that they have. Ricky Puig, I know Edwin doesn't like a Chicharito, but,
get him out of my life.
Every other, he could score the one-off goal every other.
He scored. I don't even think he scored a goal this season. I don't know. Maybe he has.
No, he definitely has. He definitely has at least one or two. I think he scored in the El Tráfico.
Did he? I know he had like 4 whiffs the other day in that game that Ricky had a really good game. Like, and it looked like that guy. And I'm sorry, I'm Chicharito bashing here, but he looked like that guy who I used to play with on Sunday who would show up to the park and it's like, yo, I'm really good. I'm going to play 9. And you give him the ball and each time he like stumbles on his own feet or just like kicks. I got it. Like, that's what he looked like. It looked really bad. He just could not even come close to finishing anything. I feel like that's where we're at with the guy. So sorry.
Well, I mean,
sorry,
yeah, I mean, listen, Galaxy, they had a step in the right direction this week. They did fire Klein, and then they got the win against Real Salt Lake. They are, similarly to Inter Miami, still in the U.S. Open Cup as well. They play Real Salt Lake again in the U.S. Open Cup quarterfinals not on Wednesday, this coming Wednesday. So it'll be interesting to see they can advance to the semis. It doesn't really get much easier, though.
Could you imagine Inter Miami, LA Galaxy, Inter Miami final in the U.S. Open Cup? That'll be fantastic.
Yeah, it would be interesting. I don't know.
Addition by subtraction.
Yeah.
Both teams, So,
yeah. But it doesn't get much easier for Galaxy from here in the MLS because they have their upcoming games. I just had it and I lost it. Their upcoming games are St. Louis, Sporting KC, Colorado, who will be a little bit easier, then San Jose, LAFC, Philadelphia, Vancouver. That's their upcoming schedule for the next month. So not going to be very easy for them to turn things around. But I think for me, this is a move that isn't going to have a major impact now, and it'll have a major impact probably going into next season. It's probably a good thing that, again, similar to Inter Miami, they got Klein out before any transfers were made or before the transfer market opened so that they can attack that however they, see fit. But I think I think this season is going to be a rough one through the very end for LA Galaxy. You just got to stick it out because I think next season is the season that you're going to look for to take that next step forward.
I looked it up, by the way. 1 goal, 1 assist in 9 games and 7 starts for Chicharito. Fantastic. Worth every penny.
Yeah, not great.
We did speak. I did mention Sporting KC. Sporting KC. I want to talk about them a little bit before we shift off of MLS a little bit. They've been on fire. They've, this is a team who, for the better part of almost a year now, probably, they've been struggling, which we're not used to with Sporting Kansas City. We're used to Sporting Kansas City being one of the best teams in the MLS, one of the most consistent teams in the MLS. They haven't had it. But over the last month, they have 15 points, which is the most in the MLS over that time span. I guess, I have my opinions on it, but Edwin, we'll start with you. What do you see as the reason for this turnaround? Is Sporting KC back?
You said the league is better when the Galaxy are good. I think Alex said that, or you. I don't remember.
Yeah.
The league is even better when Kansas City is good. Kansas City is a fantastic market. The Midwest loves their soccer. Yeah. Those fans are always look at St. Louis. They're packing the house as an expansion team. You want that. They're the bread and butter of what makes MLS really good. And one day, maybe MLS will have throwback jerseys and we'll see those beautiful rainbow kits come back. That'd be just wishful thinking. But no, yeah, again, Kansas City is fantastic for the league. It's a great place, a great atmosphere. When that team is winning, the fans are there. When that team is losing, the fans are still there. It's all a win-win. And now it makes everything interesting in the West, which is very top-heavy, that you have this team coming up slowly but surely. I want to see. I have a feeling if they continue like this, they're going to finish. Because what was it? A few weeks ago at the beginning of the month, we realized that it was the first time they've had all 3 DPs playing together for the first time in like a calendar year or something like that. So barring any health concerns or injuries, if this team sticks together, you're looking at them making a serious threat at that top 4 in the West, and that's going to be great, man. That's going to be great. Because I think, again, I'm high on St. Louis. I'm selling all my Seattle stock. Seattle. Jordan Morris already got injured. We won't see him the rest of the year. It's just like I thought it would. LAFC. I'm telling you, it's LAFC. It's St. Louis, and I think Kansas City is going to be that other big powerhouse in the West.
Alex,
you think so? Yeah.
You think it's going to be? Do you agree? That they'll be in the top 4? Do you think they have the power now? What's really changed for them? Do you think that enough has changed for them to make that big jump? Right now, they're in 11th.
Yeah, honestly, like you guys said, they just got their 3 DPs back, and hopefully that will help them. I know Peter Vermes has been. I don't know if I'm mistaken, but wasn't he linked to the U.S. men's national team at some point within the last? At some point, yeah.
Months? I'm not sure it was exactly a strong link. Like I think it was. Let's mention all the top MLS coaches, and he obviously is one of them. But
yeah, but yeah, I think once they get firing on all cylinders, like Edwin said, I think the league is better when Sporting is better because they have a great fan base, and the stadium's great, and a lot of memories for them. And I remember watching them in the 2013 MLS Cup final on my phone, and I was just like, oh, I think that's the one that went to penalties, I believe. And yeah, you just want them to be good because the league is better when they are good. But yeah, I think if they go on a run, they the playoffs are expanded to 9 teams now. So if they go on a run, they can easily snip that. I don't know how how high up the table they'll get, but I can see them finishing within the top 9 comfortably at least. They won 3 of their last 5 games, and I think next up they have the Whitecaps, I believe. So and they've been kind of good and bad. Most MLS teams, they do fluctuate throughout the season. So I think if they can get a win against the Whitecaps, that'll put them in a super good position, and maybe from that one they can continue to climb the table and use all those the 3 DPs they have to their advantage, because not playing on the same field for an entire year is not great in MLS. I know, covering Inter Miami, they've had their DP trouble, so it's very evident. If you struggle with DPs, you're going to struggle on the field, period. So, they get that win against the Whitecaps, and then they can continue to climb that table and possibly get within the top 9.
Yeah, Alex, as you come on the show more, you'll realize that they're my Vancouver Whitecaps. There's no Vancouver Whitecaps slander on this podcast. No, but honestly, as even as you can be, they're 5-5. It happened that I was like, literally, because it's 10:30, right? It's like you watch the 7:30 game, and like the only game that's ever on is Vancouver for some reason. So I watched like 6 Vancouver games at the beginning of the season, but they are as even as you can get. Vancouver 5-5 the whole season. So that is right, like as good and as bad as you could possibly be. In terms of Sporting Kansas City, I see them jumping into the playoffs. I can't see them getting above the 6th, though, in my opinion. I think they're probably better when they're firing on all cylinders. They're probably better than Minnesota, Vancouver, Houston, Portland. Austin, I'm not really sure where I stand on Austin right now, because I feel like they're starting to figure something out, but they haven't really shown the Austin that we saw last year yet. So we'll see about that. But Sporting Kansas City is definitely taking a step forward, a huge step forward. They've scored a lot more goals recently. I think at the beginning of the season, we were like 6 games in, they'd scored 3 goals or something like that. So
they were
finding the back of the net, improving. 16 points right now. They're 7 points off that top 4. So we'll see what happens there. I guess it is a nice segue into our games of the week, though, because my game of the week is Sporting Kansas City versus Vancouver. I think that's going to be a really good matchup. I will be up at 10:30 to watch it. Don't worry. I think Vancouver, like we've said, they've been. It's so weird watching Vancouver, right? Because some games you watch them and they're awful. They're awful. And some games you watch them, like the game against Houston, they score 6 goals. They're firing on all cylinders, and you're like, oh, this team has a lot of talent. So I think these 2 teams are very evenly matched, and I think it's a good barometer for Sporting Kansas City to see where they're at right now. They are Kansas City beat Dallas. They've beaten Portland. They beat Minnesota over their last 5 matches. Now it's the time to see if they can beat Vancouver and continue this run and continue to move in the right direction. So that's what I'm looking forward to this weekend. Alex, we'll go to you next. What's your game of the week?
Yeah, there's a lot of cool games upcoming, and I know I one little thing about this new Apple TV deal is that sometimes the games are staggered. So you, like, before you were able to watch 3 or 4 games over the weekend, but now you usually have to choose 7:30 game, and then like you said, Geno, maybe one at 10:30. But this week, I think I'm gonna go with I know this sounds so horrible and biased, but like Inter Miami versus DC, like Inter Miami just got rid of their coach. I'm curious to see how they bounce back from that. DC United, they've been on the bounce. They've got a really good, strong starting 11. Benteke, Taxi Fontas. They have a lot of good young talent through there, and I'm interested to see how Rooney sets them up. I think it's going to be a super open game. Miami coming off, firing Phil Neville, a new coach with Javier Morales. I think, I don't think that their style, Miami style, will change too much. I think it's just going to be, okay, let's just get through this so the new coach can implement his way of playing or getting them through the season. So I think both teams are going to try to go for it. I know Miami are going to try to go for it. They want a win, after, losing their manager. What's the 4-game losing streak? They want to taste victory again. So I'll definitely be interested in that in DC. And one more game, Austin FC and RSL. I know I'm cheating a little bit here, but
You're cheating. Off the record.
Well, yeah, one last team, Austin and RSL. I've always been interested in Austin FC, and let's see how Idrisi's back from injury, and I think he just scored recently as well. So let's see how they get on there. Yeah.
All right, unlike
Edwin.
you, I'm not going with 6 games here, but I'll say this: that Kansas City Vancouver game is going to be a great one. I have 2 Kansas City jerseys. I don't fit into them anymore, but I so you know who I'll be cheering for there. And no, my game, I'm going to watch Inter Miami. Obviously, as being a homer here, I want to know what happens for the same reasons that Alex said. But the game that I'm actually, no one's talking about it, myself included. I totally dropped the ball on this. No one mentioned this. No one realized it. But it's Cascadia Cup, man. We got Portland at Seattle this weekend. This is going to be the big one. This is always a great time to watch those fans. It's in Seattle, right? I believe. Let me double check.
Yeah, it was in Portland. It was in Portland last time. So
yeah, when it's in Portland, I kind of like it a little better. That Portland stadium is just a little grimier, a little, more cozy and impersonal, and you got the Timbers Army and that dude with the chains cutting off. Fun. Seattle, though, the Stars are going to be out. It's a great time. The 12th man over there. Seattle's a great fan base. So they're going to have everybody's going to be out in full support. They're going to do their march into the stadium, everything. Again, Seattle is one of those teams that really started to shift the fans over to MLS when they came into the league. That was one of those new teams that was like, hey, wait a minute. They kind of feel and look like those teams that I'm used to seeing, as opposed to when MLS first came out, where we're like, the Dallas Burn and the San Jose Clash, and they had all these crazy names, the Mutiny, which was fantastic, and I love it now. But at the time, it was a risk, in branding and everything that paid off for some teams and didn't for others. But Seattle was one of those new teams, that new wave of teams that started coming in, expansion teams that has done, incredibly well. And it's going to be a fantastic atmosphere. Those Cascadia Cup games are always, always, always a good time. So that's what I'm going to watch. And it's at 10:30, so I get to watch both games. See?
Yeah, it's going to be it's good weekend. We do actually get this staggered a bit, or we get it staggered a little bit this weekend. We get 2 afternoon games. We get a slate of 7:30. We get a 9:30, a 10:30.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's at 4:30, so I get to watch it before my intermission.
Yeah,
even better.
Correct. Correct.
Oh,
yeah.
So I'll throw in the Vancouver. I'll do the trifecta. I'll get the Vancouver KC game at night. So yeah, look at that. It's gonna be a great.
We could all look at this. Cool. We all picked games we could all watch. We can all watch every single one of them because they're all happening at different times.
This is so awesome. Yeah.
This is great. Great for the brand. Great for the brand. What would be great for the brand is if LAFC were to win. That would be great for the MLS brand if they were to win in CONCACAF Champions League this weekend. But it's gonna be an uphill battle because CONCACAF Champions League first leg was played on Wednesday, I believe it was. They played in Mexico against León. They lost 2-1. León had a 2-0 lead. The goal was salvaged by none other than Dennis Bouanga at the very end of the match, which was could be a very pivotal goal in this matchup. Literally the death of the match. I think they blew the whistle immediately after they kicked the ball off. It was about the last second. So a big goal for LAFC there. Alex, we'll start with you. What did you see from this game? What from this game? What can you tell, and how do we expect the next leg to go on Sunday?
Yeah, I think LAFC, they were very lucky to get that late goal. The away goals are key in two-legged tournaments like this, and I think LA will be counting their lucky stars that they were able to get something heading back to. It's not the Bank of California anymore, is it? I think it's like BMO. Yeah, BMO field now. So they're going to be heading back to LA and clinging on to that away goal. And I think, I do watch Liga MX from time to time, but I think LAFC are just so strong at home, and they have the 32-52, and they'll have that atmosphere, and Bouanga's been on fire, and I don't know. I don't know how the game's going to end. I think it's just going to be an exciting end-to-end matchup that, the stuff that we love to see as soccer fans, just, both teams just going at it and trying to win. And, it's a last-ditch thing. It's the final. And, we're going to get some really, just end-to-end football, and it's going to be absolutely crazy. And I think, I have to give the slight edge to LAFC in that regard, because they're going to be playing at home. They're going to have the crowd behind them, but Leon will not be any slouches. They were on their way to winning before LAFC got that goal back, and if they won that game 2-0, Leon would have been going to LA with a 2-goal lead, and they could have just bunkered and just
the bus,
yes, parked the bus and done nothing. And now it's going to be a little bit more end to end. LAFC have that away goal, and Leon will have to push now. So yeah, just super great for MLS that we could possibly get another CONCACAF Champions League champion, and if it's fitting that it's LAFC with the amount of silverware that they've been just able to win within the last couple of years. And if they win this, it's that crown jewel for them. And I'm gonna get hate mail from Galaxy fans, but I think LAFC have surpassed them, not in terms of trophies, but in terms of club visibility now in MLS. And I think LAFC are that premier LA club, unfortunately with the Galaxy having their troubles. So if they win this, I think it'll just be another gem on their crown right now. And I think it's just gonna be a super open, super end-to-end game. And those Leon kits are super nice, the green ones. I hope I can have one of those, but yeah, it's gonna be a cool game.
All right, so I had the luxury and the pleasure and the benefit and all the good things of watching a proper team this week play in LAFC. Okay, I actually got to watch the game. I really enjoyed it against Leon. And I know that you guys are a couple. You know what? I'll give you guys a little round of applause. Congratulations, Everton. You Evertonians, you guys got salvaged off relegation. Congrats. You're not LA Galaxy.
All I wanted was the last season of Goodison Park not to be in the championship.
Literally.
So there you go. So congrats on that. You're not the Galaxy, but you're also not LAFC, which is the elite class of what we have in Major League Soccer. I watched the game. Those Leon goals at the beginning. The thing with LAFC, that whole game, they just did not let off. They kept fighting. Bouanga was all over the place. That guy's motor is incredible. It just doesn't stop. It just continues and continues and continues. And the testament is in that last goal, massive last goal in the 95th minute of extra time. Okay, it was just that's the type of thing. Now there's no away goals in this round. It's just aggregate.
Yeah.
So it's in this round here. So it's massive, because unlike you Everton fans that are going to park the bus and just hope that we don't kill us, we just got to survive. No, LAFC is going to put their foot on the gas. They're going to score 3 goals easy on Leon, and that crowd 32-52 is going to be lit. It's going to be pumped. It's going to be great. So I'm looking forward to that game. It's going to be fantastic to watch, and I think LAFC is going to pull it off comfortably. I think it's going to be probably thinking like a 3-0, 4-1 kind of thing here, because that's what they're going to need to get it here, or maybe a little 2-0. That'll be enough as well. So I do see LAFC. Man, it feels like they're a team of destiny. They won it. They won the MLS Cup. They're doing what we always wanted an MLS team to do: go after some type of treble or have an incredible run of success, not just domestically, but globally here. And they're doing it there, and it's going to be fantastic to watch. So good for them. Looking forward to it. Bouanga, 2 goals next game. Book it. There you go.
Yeah, honestly, I agree. I feel like the deadly combination for LAFC is being down a goal, needing to be on the front foot, and also being at home. I feel like that is, for some teams, maybe that wouldn't be the advantage that it is for LAFC, but I think for LAFC, it's a major advantage for them. And the fact that they can play freely, they could say, we're going to play our way. We're going to be at home. We're going to have the fans behind us. I think I would agree. I think LAFC come back and win this one, but I think they need a goal at least in the first half. Because if they go into the second half down 2-1, I think that's when we start to see Leon bunker down real hard and just try and hold on to that 2-1 lead. And then it's going to be just, you're going to have to find some creative genius to find the back of the net. So I think that they will win it, but I think they need a goal in the first half to see to see it through and grab that trophy. And
don't doubt. I was going to say, don't doubt Carlos Vela either. He had a bad first game.
Yeah.
bad first game.
Yeah.
Uncharacteristically, he's coming in with the chip on his shoulder and is like, hey, I'm against a Mexican team. He's, he knows what's at stake here. He's going to make up for his not so good performance here, and they're going to have a fantastic showing on Sunday. I think it's Sunday, right?
Yes, Sunday, June 4th at 9 p.m. Eastern time. 9 p.m. Eastern time. So catch that one. I'm sure it's going to be a phenomenal match, like a very, very good match. That is the game of the week for any American watching MLS teams or Liga MX teams or anybody here in America. That's the game of the week. So if you don't watch any soccer this weekend, watch that match because it's going to
watch that.
It's going to be a good one. I think it's good. I mean, LAFC, like we said, they have the best chance at a double doing the double that we've seen probably in the history of the MLS. So if they can win this one, that's halfway there. Let's talk a little bit quickly about Liga MX as well, because we have not talked about Liga MX, and the final was this past weekend. It's very important, of course, because Chivas and Tigres came into the match tied 0-0 going into this one, and all chaos ensued, as is typical for Liga MX, right? That's what we're used to. Chivas had a 2-0 lead. They lost the 2-0 lead, and Tigres ended up scoring an extra time that ended up giving them the trophy. One of the craziest seasons I've ever seen in my life with Tigres. They've lost 2 coaches. They've had such an up and down season. They managed to bring home the trophy. Alex, again, we'll start with you. I know I believe you said you were watching this one, when it was going on. Your thoughts on the match? And really, I guess maybe let's start with what went wrong for Chivas after going up 2-0.
Yeah, I think, they maybe just lost their head a little bit. I know, just Tigres has just this history of, I don't know, they're just really successful, and it just seemed inevitable, even though their season this year was probably not the best. I think, what did they finish on the table? I'm looking.
I think they were 7th on the table. They started off as the best team in the league, and then just fell apart after they lost Coca to the Mexican national team.
7th in the league, and it wasn't the best. So, it's just strange to see. I guess that's the beauty of the playoffs, I guess, in a sense. But they finished 7th in the league, and then they win this title through just a crazy game, a crazy atmosphere, and you're always getting that with whenever these two teams play, and it's just fun to watch as a neutral. And the game was absolutely crazy. Like, how many shots on target? It went into extra time. Tigres winning 3-2 on aggregate. It's just a crazy match, and then it's just yellow cards, and it's just how do you even know?
It was crazy.
Pure football. It was
Liga MX. That's what it was. It was Liga MX.
Yes.
Alex,
Pure fun.
I want to ask you, Alex. You said you're neutral, so we've been doing this Liga MX segment here, and it's been my favorite one because it's nuts. It's crazy. We go 1 week, we went like 4-0 in our picks, then we went like 1-4 or 0-4. Like, it was bad. We don't understand anything. There's guys with 3 jersey numbers on their back. It's insane.
Yeah.
It makes it fun. Now you're a neutral. I've been trying to find a team. Geno already made his decision. He's Cruz Azul. He said that's the closest thing to Everton and misery that I could find, and that's what he's doing.
La Máquina, baby.
I'm an Evertonian too, so might as well join.
So Cruz Azul.
There you go. That's what I like to hear, Alex.
I was just kind of curious to see if you, because Lizzie's the Club America, but she's really a closet Santos fan. I've been a total free agent fan. My one stigma was I do not go for Tigres. So I've been picking against them all playoffs, and I keep wrong. So it's just been even more frustrating to see them win. For some reason, I don't like Tigres. I started off liking Pumas. Then I was like, Pachuca, because they got more Colombians. And then it's just been a whirlwind. So I feel like after my first Liga MX season here, I don't have a true team yet that I'm into. But again, if any of these Liga MX teams want to convert me, man, it's just one little free jersey and I'm there, bro. Like, so easy fan to get,
Yeah, I haven't chosen a team yet. Like I said, I'm a neutral. I do have a Club America jersey because I just thought it looked nice, and it's super cool. But yeah, I think I'm a neutral now. I need like a connection to one of the teams to actually hang on to that. So next season I'll be watching, and then whether it's style of play or they have, a player from my country,
Geno-
Zendejas is on Club America. He's he's American now. So
if you want a connection to Everton, Ramiro Funes Mori is on Cruz Azul.
Oh, is he really? Oh, well, there we go. There we go.
Yeah,
Oh,
so I
man.
figured, yeah.
He's a psychopath, but
I
he's
have
on
not
there.
heard his name in a long time. I remember him
know.
for Everton. Wow.
The only thing he
then
did
there
have
we
for
go.
Everton was get a red card against Liverpool. That's like the only thing I remember. I feel like he got
Literally.
like a crazy tackle or whatever.
So we got a couple of Cruz Azules and then me kind of in limbo here. Like I said, at last check, I think I was Pachuca.
Just be honest.
again,
Just be honest. You're waiting for somebody to send you a jersey. When they send you
yeah,
a jersey,
no.
then you're all in.
I'm a total. It could be the worst team in the league. Give me, the bottom feeder, and if they send me some swag, bro, I'm all over it. I'll be like, no, and I'm truthful, I'll be a big fan.
Been a fan my whole life.
Yeah, I've been a fan my whole life.
Hello.
All 3 days.
No, yeah, I mean it was a great final, really a great season overall. I mean, for my first season in Liga MX, like reflecting and looking back, right? Lizzie explained a lot of the rules and a lot of what happens in Liga MX going into the season, and it really lived up to every single thing she said. Like every single thing from the chaos. I mean, more red cards than I've seen in my entire life. Just goals. Late goals. You got managers being picked up by the Mexican national team, teams doing poorly and then doing better after they get the third manager. A manager was fired a day before the playoffs, basically. So the chaos of Liga MX did not disappoint. It was it was a great season. And I will be watching again when Cruz Azul win the title next season. Speaking of which, though, Cruz Azul, we must not forget they won the most important trophy in all of Mexico, the Copa por Mexico. So
there you go. Congrats, guys.
The preseason tournament that doesn't really matter at all. They won, so I'll take it. It's like Everton winning the Florida Cup.
Let me ask you. So now that we have finished our first Liga MX season, you and I here, and we've been on this ride together here. Give me one thing that stood out for you? Whether it was a rule, a moment, or something that's the lingering thought. Because I'll tell you mine, and it's the 3-digit jersey numbers. I still can't get over it. Like it bothered me all season when I'm watching a game and there's a guy in number 177 out there, and I'm just like, huh? Like that tripped me out even more so than all the red cards and all the chaos and that crazy final with Tigres coming back. To me, it was a triple-digit jersey numbers. I don't know what did it for you.
Yeah, for me, I think I'm still stuck on the. Again, it's a rule, but I'm still stuck on the. Well, actually, no. There's two things. One is I'm still stuck on the needing to have like 7 Mexican-born nationals on the team or whatever, but you can have like a Mexican passport and that counts. I'm still confused by that rule. I'm not really sure how it works. I think they changed it again. So I'm not really sure. The second thing that stuck out to me was the fact that Santos Laguna made the playoffs despite not being in a playoff spot because Querétaro didn't had the lowest aggregate points out of any team, so they couldn't make the playoffs. I don't know. It was,
and then they win a game.
Still understanding
They got rid of their coach,
it.
and they won the game in the playoffs after getting rid of their coach before they started the playoffs that they backed into. So yeah, that's fantastic. That's fantastic.
So I'd have to say that's what stands out to me. But anything else you guys want to touch on before we wrap the show up?
I think it's fantastic. I'm very happy. Thank you, Alex, for hanging out with us.
Yes,
and
thank
being
you
a
so
part.
much.
Alex will be a part of the show next week.
Correct.
Right,
yes.
Alex?
Edwin will be. We'll have Edwin and Lizzie will be overseas. Edwin was in Germany last weekend. Came back to America, now out to France and Istanbul for the Champions League final, the UEFA Champions League final next weekend. So it's going to be me and Alex next week talking about all this stuff. It's going to be a blast, as it always is. It's always fun talking on the Real Futbol Show. Thank you, as always, for you guys for joining us. And you guys out there, thank you for listening. Make sure you follow these social accounts. We have our TikTok on there now. Which one is it? It's
TikTok,
this one right here below, Alex. The TikTok's on there. It's the same as the Instagram. Make sure you follow us on that. Catch us for all the content over there. Of course, 90 Min US. We'll have to, figure out a way to produce content now that Phil Neville is no longer coaching the MLS, but we will do it for you. I promise. I promise we'll figure it out.
Bradley. Bob Bradley's our focus now. He's in our crosshairs.
Bob Bradley, absolutely. Well, again, thank you guys for listening, and we'll talk to you guys next week. Peace.
Later, guys.